Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time live from Heinz Field here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Hope everybody is having a better night. Hope you've had some opportunity to recover after the Tennessee Titans went nuclear on the field behind me not so many hours ago. We're obviously going to talk about this game and how the Titans kind of imploded, even though, yet again, for probably the third time in their 5 losses, they had the opportunity to win this game. It's stupid how this continues to happen. And now, honestly, I think you can start to have questions about what their future sustainability is. Not that there wasn't questions revolving around that to begin with all the injuries and everything that they've gone through. But with this game in particular, where so much is working in your favor, and yet still they find a way to blow it up with the nuclear option. It's a situation for the Titans that I'm legitimately concerned about how much longer they're going to be able to keep this thing afloat. So we'll talk about that over the course of tonight's show. Oh, they just turned the lights at Heinz Field off behind me, so we get a little Pittsburgh at night. That's disappointing. That was a really, really cool view until about 5 minutes ago. Anyway, so we'll talk about it over the course of tonight's show. Of course, we'll take your comments, your reaction. I'm sure you guys got a lot to say. I know that was active on the post game with Austin and Zach earlier from Mill Creek Brewing Company. But tonight we're live from Heinz Field, and we're going to talk about this game at length. You're going to hear from Mike Vrabel. You're going to hear from Kevin Byard, and we'll do a little This Is a Free Site later on in the show as well. But before we get started, need you to share this show around if you would be kind enough. If you are hanging out with us on Facebook Live, please share the show. Share now to public. That is how you get things done on Facebook Live and how your Facebook friends can share this show. If you are on YouTube or on Twitch, please do us a solid and subscribe to the A to Z Sports channel, where you can get our live streamed content 7 days a week, because you know that A to Z Sports always has something to say. And if you are somebody who is on Twitter, please retweet the show in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, and that way your Twitter folks can jump in. Twitter is infinitely a place for, nuance and discussion, so I'm certain we're going to have a lot of that over the course of tonight's show. And now that more of you are here, we can go ahead and begin the program officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time live from Heinz Field here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm your host, Buck Rising, in case you couldn't tell by my little name tag, my media credential. Here with you, and proud as always to be presented to you by my friends at Two Rivers Ford. Two Rivers Ford, reliable, trustworthy, dependable in any sense of the imagination. Unlike the Tennessee Titans offense, which I'm sure we're going to spend some time on. Two Rivers Ford, customer-focused first and foremost. You can visit them in Mount Juliet, or you can go online at tworiversford.com. DraftKings Sportsbook, promo code A2Z Sports, that's ATOZ Sports, has great offers for you, especially with the NBA coming up on this Christmas weekend. I'll tell you more about that later on, but make sure you're getting in on the action in your DraftKings Sportsbook app. Brymak Mechanical, BRYMAK, Brymak.com, satisfaction guaranteed on all of your HVAC needs. And if you are in need of your dream address without the stress, or in this seller's market, in this insane real estate market in Nashville, Tennessee, you want to sell for more? You can do so with the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage at GaryAshton.com. So the Titans tonight, or earlier this afternoon, I suppose, we're on Eastern time. So that's, I just realized that we're on Eastern time, so I'm a little bit early on the primetime show tonight. My apologies, sincerely. But since we're here, we might as well talk about this, because on this field behind me, even though they shut the lights off, the lights were on in the Tennessee Titans offense, but it seemed when they got inside the 20, nobody was home. I mean, there were so many different ways that this game was winnable, and that they just let it collapse from under their feet. Now, this is a situation for Tennessee that we have seen before, and there's a lot of different reasons why this has become the thing that it is, the thing that this mutated version of Titans offense that we were never, that none of us were ever supposed to be subjected to. And yet here we are today talking about an offense that outgained the Pittsburgh Steelers, that converted on more of their third downs than the Pittsburgh Steelers, that was more efficient in the red zone than the Pittsburgh. Well, actually, that's not true. They weren't more efficient in the red zone than the Pittsburgh Steelers, but averaged more yards per play. There was a lot of things. The offense moved the ball well, and that's the crazy thing to me. And again, it's happened again. They did it against New England, found ways to move the ball. Maybe not necessarily against the Rams, the Houston Texans, but they had opportunities. Obviously, the Rams game they won, but they had obvious opportunities in the Houston Texans game and in the New England Patriots game to win both of those contests, even though they're down bad injury-wise the way that we know them to be. So there's a lot of different reasons why this looks terrible. And honestly, there is some reason for optimism because the defense is playing lights out. You'll hear from Kevin Byard later on. The defense is playing really, really solid football. But at this juncture, they need an offense that can help support them. They need an offense that can score points for them. And today, it's just not the case. And it's been like that for quite some time. Dustin Unger on Facebook Live says, put on a better show than our offense, Buck. Man, I'm going to try to. And, not to take any cheap shots, but the bar is pretty low as far as putting on a better show than the Titans offense right now. So let's start with your Two Rivers Ford take. And I know you guys got a lot to say. I'm excited to get your reaction, even though I know a lot of it is going to be a poor reaction because we haven't talked about Julio Jones yet. We haven't talked about Anthony Ferguson yet. We're going to talk about Ryan Tannehill, I'm certain, but, he is the least of the offenders outside of that botched snap. And honestly, I can't blame the guy for being a little tight in these situations because that was just frankly nerves. But we'll get to that right after I ask you your Two Rivers Ford take here on a Sunday night from Heinz Field in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. What part of the Titans offense drives you most insane right now? It could be injuries. It could be turnovers. It could be other personnel that are failing to execute when they are called upon because the injuries have put the Titans in this kind of position. Let me know what your Two Rivers Ford take is. What part of the Titans offense drives you the most insane right now? While you do that, I'll tell you about the people who present the Two Rivers Ford take. They do it each and every night. They do it so well, just like they do you so well when you go out and visit them in Mount Juliet. The Two Rivers Ford take is, of course, presented to you by our friends at Two Rivers Ford. Since 1983, Two Rivers Ford has been providing award-winning customer service and quality American-made Ford vehicles. Two Rivers Ford is the best car dealership in Middle Tennessee, not just the best Ford dealership, but the best car dealership. And that is because they put you as the customer, and me too. I'm a loyal customer at Two Rivers Ford. They put us collectively first and foremost whenever it is that they are considering their next business proposition. Two Rivers Ford will find you the vehicle that fits your needs and your family's budget the best, not trying to price gouge you where there's been supply chain issues, and we know that everything is hard to come by right now. Two Rivers Ford doesn't take advantage of their customers that way. They make sure that they get the best deal for their customer. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. So what drives you most insane about the offense right now? And I wrote about this at A2ZSports.com. Maybe you've had a chance to read my post-game column. Maybe you haven't, but I'm going to give you a pretty good summary of it right now because there's a couple of things, two things in particular that are driving me batshit crazy about the Titans and watching them play, right? Julio, says Eugene Edwards. We'll start with some of your comments. Julio is a disappointment, but damn, can't the offensive coordinator scheme some plays for him? Seriously. And, I saw maybe not a ton of people, but I saw a handful of people giving the I just saw a comment from our friend Emily Proud on WKRN News 2. Anyway, the offensive coordinator getting some heat is not, I don't think it's warranted. Imagine what you would be saying, or if you would have had any criticisms for Todd Downing if Nick Westbrook-Akina would have held on to that deep pass. Now, Ryan Tannehill, the pass was a little ahead of Nick Westbrook-Akina, but if they are going to find playmakers in this offense without Julio Jones and without A.J. Brown and without Derrick Henry, no matter how much longer that lasts, And it doesn't look like it's getting all that much better anytime soon because Julio, as you know, did not play in the second half today. And frankly, on one play that was a turnover, got himself hurt again. And we'll spend some time on that. But Todd Downing, I don't think Todd Downing called a bad game. Like I thought the deep passing plays were there. I thought that they tried to take advantage of some shots, some opportunities downfield. They almost hit them. Now, two of them, there was two to Nick Westbrook-Ikhine and one to Cody Hollister. Now, think about what I've just said there. Two deep shots to Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, who respectfully is not Julio or AJ, and one to Cody Hollister, who was a practice squad call-up on Saturday before the game. Been a practice squad wide receiver all year long. They don't keep him active because they need the active roster spot for all the other bodies they're trying to find replacements for. So with all of this being said, like Todd Downing, can you blame him if he schemes up these opportunities and the players don't execute them in real time? The replacement players don't execute them in real time. Like anybody else with this offense, he gets thrown off his game. And I'm not saying that that's an excuse. I'm just saying that it's pretty easily explained. And of all the things that I saw happen today on that football field behind me, where we're in the Titans radio booth right now, broadcasting live from Heinz Field. Of all the things that I saw today, Todd Downing was not the thing that came to my mind, like, oh my God, he just sucked. And I saw some stuff on Twitter about him not being in the flow of the game, but like, how could you be in the flow of the game if you're Todd Downing when you just can't get guys you can't stop them from turning the ball over in the second half. And you cannot get these big play action bombs executed the way that you want to because you don't have the personnel to do it. So of all the stuff, Eugene, I would respectfully disagree with. I'm not saying that Todd Downing's perfect. I think everybody misses Arthur Smith as far as, players and look, they like Todd Downing well enough. But like what Arthur is different. He's a head coach. His opportunity here earned him that head coaching position, and I'm happy for Arthur. Looks like the Falcons are trending in the right direction. I don't know if they played a game today, actually. I haven't had the opportunity to see any of the other NFL games today because they don't keep the TVs on here in the Pittsburgh press box, and that's all well and good. There's only one game that I'm talking about that I'm going to break down here tonight. I'll have the opportunity to watch some of today's games on the plane ride home tomorrow morning. But regardless, like Todd Downing to me does not strike me as the big issue. The biggest issue, the thing that drives me insane, you want to know what drives me insane? The fact that think about this, okay? For as bad as it looked and as bad as it has looked, really since what? Even before the Colts game where Derrick Henry got injured, because Derrick obviously played that game with a broken bone in his foot, so you can understand why it didn't look great. But, I mean, there have been good offensive, from a statistical standpoint, good offensive performances. They found out how to move the ball effectively in life without Derrick Henry. That's supposed to be a good thing. And turns out when you sabotage yourself in a massive way, each and every time that you find ways to move the ball effectively, it does you zero good because you can't capitalize on the ways that you've done well to move the ball. I mean, it's not hard math, but I was thinking about, their rushing game has been solid. They had like 200 yards of offense running the ball today. In fact, I have my game summary here that the Steelers PR was kind enough to provide us with. They had 201 yards of rushing offense today. They have averaged in the last 6 games 135.17 yards per game on the ground. That sounds damn near like Derrick. There's a 270 mixed in there against the Patriots. Like that sounds like Derrick Henry numbers, right? They're moving the ball well, and they were moving it well against the Steelers today. They continued to run the ball with success, and the turnovers, again, nuked them. You want to talk about the thing that drives me the most insane? That's what drives me the most insane. The fact that they may have figured out some kind of mutated version of life without Derrick Henry, and they keep botching it. They keep botching it with stupid mistakes. Anthony Ferkser, I don't know. And I like Ferk personally. I know he does a lot of good charitable work. I respect the whole, and I'm prefacing all of this to say he's been probably, of all the issues, whether it's the injuries, whether it's the lack of availability from guys like Julio Jones, whether it's the lack of production statistically by Ryan Tannehill, I would venture to guess to say that as a football player, Anthony Firkser has been the most disappointing part of the Titans this year, which is not a easy thing to say given all the things that have gone wrong for them. That fumble was the play that Julio Jones got hurt on, trying to recover the Anthony Firkser one that I went back and watched the replay a couple times. Maybe it'll look different when I get the opportunity to look at the coaches' film tomorrow before the radio show. But on watching the television copy and the replays that they had on the Steelers Twitter timeline filled with great highlights of the defense making plays, because there sure as hell wasn't anything on offense for the Steelers today. This was a situation where Firkser just coughed it up and Julio hurt himself trying to recover that fumble. And all of it to say that there are clear and obvious ways that they can win football games. And for whatever reason, whether it's mistakes like Firkser, whether it's the botched snap by Ryan Tannehill, I don't know that I've ever seen Ryan Tannehill and Ben Jones botch a snap before. It's the first time. It just happened to come in a moment where they already had, I think at that point, that was that was the fourth turnover. That botched snap was the fourth turnover. Tannehill had an interception that got tipped up at the line of scrimmage. Whether you want to put it on him, whether you want to say it was the defense making a play, whatever, but you have fumbles, you have turnovers. The Racey McMath play, my God. I mean, that happened because he wouldn't go to the ground. He's a rookie, and he's not meant to be in that position just yet. He's just not as a sixth-round draft pick. There are so many reasons to think, my God, they figured it out without Derrick Henry. They understand how they can win football games and move the ball without Derrick Henry, except in the red zone and except when you have the turnovers, cause these nuclear moments that just absolutely sabotage you. You want to talk about the most insane thing about the Titans offense? They drive me crazy watching that. And the only reason why I wanted the Titans to win today was so my girlfriend wouldn't leave me, because if they don't have home field advantage, I'm going to have to travel during the playoffs and my relationship is probably going to end. No, I'm kidding. I love my girlfriend's probably watching. I'm saying that in jest. Please don't get upset with me. But you understand what I'm saying. Like, this is a situation where they completely had the Colts did them such a solid last night by beating the New England Patriots soundly the way that they did. Now, New England made it a little spicy at the end, but still the Colts with that Jonathan Taylor, what ended up being, the game-sealing touchdown run that he had, Jonathan Taylor knocked the Patriots off the top spot, and the Titans, time and time again, through 60 minutes of this football game, had the opportunity to retake the 1 seed, and they choked. They choked. On the offensive side of the football, they choked. And that's not an accusation that I throw out there lightly, because I know how hard it is that these guys work, and I understand how much time they spend going into their craft. And I also saw Anthony Firkser cough up a fumble that wasn't forced and ended up, sending them into this tailspin. Because it's not just that they have turnovers. It's the fact that the turnovers snowball in ways that I can't understand. And I asked Mike Vrabel today, whether Tannehill specifically, if they felt like he was pressing because of the way that these turnovers do snowball on them. And Mike basically said, it doesn't feel that way. The turnovers in and of themselves, of course, they're going to put you in a different position during the game. The botch snap, he didn't feel like it was a force. It was just an error that ended up, just a weird part of football that ended up happening at the worst possible time. What one thing about the Titans offense drives you the most crazy right now? Let's see. Bobby Dingman says, I wouldn't be surprised if the Titans go 1-2 over the last 3 games. Listen, they're 2-3 in their last 5, Bobby. After week 9, the Tennessee Titans had the easiest strength of schedule in the NFL. Now, I went and looked up those games as far as that was concerned, because I'm like, I hear that tossed around a lot, and I know that ESPN, I don't necessarily know what the Football Power Index is, other than it's something that ESPN consistently cites in their analysis of things. But like, go through it. So since week 9, this is when the Titans had the easiest strength of schedule remaining. Week 9 was at Rams, right? So the finish to this season was supposed to look like home versus the Saints against Trevor Siemian, home versus the Texans, at the Patriots, home versus the Jags, at the Steelers, and the 3 games remaining, of course, hosting the Niners, Miami coming to Nashville, and to finish the season at the Houston Texans. They've gone 2-3 in those 5 games since week 9. And I mean, I think that they are infinitely capable of losing to the Miami Dolphins. I think that they could probably lose to the 49ers as well. It's if they get swept by the Texans this season, my God, just go ahead and put a fork in them because they're done. But there are so many different things that frustrate you about this situation, and the biggest issue is they're completely self-inflicted. They're completely self-inflicted. Berkshire's fumble today, self-inflicted, literally self-inflicted. Racing McMath, not knowing to just go to the ground in that circumstance instead of trying to, he kept himself up with his leg that, kept him from being ruled down when the ball came out. And it's a bang play. I think Racey's just in a tough spot there. He didn't play enough football, and that was a bad moment that happened to him. But the Racey thing completely within their own control. The botch snap by Tannehill completely in their own control. The only turnover today that I'll absolve them from is the tipped interception. And I know nobody wants to hear me absolve Ryan Tannehill of interceptions, but come on. I mean, what do you want him to do there? Number 98, I think it's Taco Charlton, just made a great name, by the way, Taco Charlton. But all of this to say, what makes you the most insane about the Titans offense? We'll talk about it here in just a second, right after I remind you about our friends who will never let you down at DraftKings Sportsbook. In fact, this Christmas week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, they've got a gift that'll certainly put you in the holiday spirit. New customers can bet just $5 on any NBA team and win $150 in free bets if they're victorious. It's a great way to put some extra jingle in your pocket. All DraftKings Sportsbook customers can also get in a Christmas surprise with the holiday free bet surprise. That sounds spicy. Everyone will get a free bet up to $50 instantly as DraftKings gives away up to $10 million in prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code A2Z Sports. That's ATOZ Sports. Bet just $5 on any NBA team and win $150 in free bets if they're victorious. That's promo code A2Z Sports this Christmas week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older, Tennessee only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help. Call or text the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. So, for your part, what drove you the most crazy today? Because I think there's a lot of things drove me crazy today. Dan, they're trying to kick Buck out, says Will Mayberry. Yeah, listen, they can't get rid of us all. I got Teron Davenport out here grinding it out in the booth next to me. I think Kaharski's still wandering around somewhere causing problems for a poor Steelers PR person. They can shut the lights off, but we're going to go on our own terms, unlike the Titans who went out on the Steelers' terms today. Josh Reynolds scoring touchdowns, says Jose. We can't catch one, man. I mean, listen, neither quarter. I mean, I don't know how many of you watch Ben Roethlisberger, but he's having a lot of problems unto himself. Nobody threw a touchdown pass today. Both quarterbacks had to run it in from the one because they just don't have another way to score. It's really, really bad football that took place here at Heinz Field. Steven says, God, Julio's injured again, and Todd Downing screwed us. The Downing thing I don't get. Maybe I'll feel differently after I watch this one back, but in the booth today, I did not feel like Todd Downing, outside of the turnovers just completely derailing their game plan. I didn't feel like Todd Downing called a bad game. But again, I'll reserve that opinion until I've had the opportunity to watch the coach's film on Game Pass again, probably on the plane ride home. Will Mayberry says 4 turnover games are the norm. They have been, right? There were 4 turnovers against the Patriots. There were 5 turnovers against the Houston Texans. 0 turnovers against the Jags. You know what you did? You won 20-0 and let them turn over the ball 14 times. Listen, the irony of this stat is crazy. Titans are 1-3 in their last 4 games, right? So 1-3, 4 games. The Titans have 13 turnovers. 1-3. 1-3, 13 turnovers. And 4 takeaways all of the Titans' offensive turnovers coming in losses, all 4 of the takeaways coming last week in the win against the Jags. So they're 1-3. They got 13 turnovers, and the 4 turnovers that came only against the Jacksonville Jaguars because Trevor Lawrence is floundering worse than your football team is right now. But this football team is in really bad shape. Anthony Hill says, we will not win against the Niners, so good luck. We'll see. Bradley Wolf says, Buck, do you think we hold off the Colts for the division? Man, this is the problem with what they did today or what they didn't do today, right? The biggest issue with what they didn't do today is the idea that the Colts won. Colts are 8-6. Titans are 9-5. Colts have the 3rd best scoring offense in football right now. They've got, whether he's a real MVP candidate or whether it's just something the NFL is trying to sell you because the Colts are doing an in-season Hard Knocks and they want everybody to go check out their content. Colts are playing high-level football. Titans are struggling on offense. Defense, I give that defense all the credit in the world. They played outstanding again for a second week in a row. There's only so much more that the Titans can do on defense. It's not a full team problem, but if you can only muster 13 points and your opponent can squeak it out with 4 field goals to get to 19, you're banged, right? All those great stops in the red zone to force field goals doesn't matter because your offense can't score. So I don't know, Bradley. I really don't know. I think it depends. I think it's going to come down to the final week, probably again against the Texans. I think that God bless you need Derrick Henry back, even though you've kind of figured out the rushing game without him. And I think that whenever A.J. Brown is ready to go, man, you just need some kind of life in this passing game because it can't keep looking like this. It cannot keep looking like this. The quarterback doesn't trust what's around. I mean, he's never going to say that publicly, but like you can clearly tell that he's floundering a little bit out there. And that's not something we've seen in Titans version of Ryan Tannehill. Seen plenty of that in Miami, and those were some really, really bad football teams. Turns out the offense around him right now, it's not much different than what he had as a Dolphin. TJ Johnson says, you're a moron. Oh, for what? I mean, I am a moron for a great many reasons, but I don't think I've said anything particularly moronic tonight. If you'd like to expand on your opinion, TJ, I would be happy to engage in civil conversation with you and then probably end up calling you a moron because I'm right, you're wrong. Leave Ferkser in Pittsburgh, says Brock Kraft. Dude is absolutely I'm not going to call another person garbage, right? Like that's just wrong. But he's been bad. He's been bad. He hadn't helped the football team. He's had 1 touchdown, right, which was the fumble recovery against the Texans. I think it was Dontrell Hilliard that fumbled that football, and Ferkser recovered in the end zone. Other than that, man, it's been pretty sparse as far as positive contributions by Anthony Ferkser for this football team. What frustrates you the most right now? Van Jeffrey says the coordinator. Brian Coburn says fall apart next year, get Bryce Young. Okay, well, Brian, but what kind of mentality is that? You're still 9-5. You're still at the top of your division. You're still the Ravens lost, so that still allows you to exist in the top 4 seeds right now. So you have some stuff going for you. And again, the defense is good, but you cannot tell me that you're ready to punt on the season, Brian. Respectfully, Brian, I think that's such a loser mentality. Literally a loser mentality. You're just going to give up. You're going to take your ball and go home because your offense can't stop turning the ball over. I get it. I get that this doesn't feel good. Today should not feel good. Hell, last week didn't even feel that good because the Jags are terrible and your offense couldn't score. I mean, it has been a tough slog, but this is not something that cannot be corrected. This is not something. I mean, listen to Mike Vrabel talk about this 2 hours ago when we met with the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. You're listening or watching, by the way, A to Z Sports Prime Time, live from Pittsburgh. We're still at Heinz Field, and we'll wrap things up here momentarily right after you hear from the head coach about what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong.
I mean, there wasn't when you say mistakes, obviously mistakes are part of the game. The turnovers, we have to hold the ball in much more regard. Obviously you can't do that and think you're going to win. That's what I appreciate about this team is that they battle and make it so hard on ourselves.
It was kind of a tale of two halves today. What else besides the turnovers in the second half?
We moved the ball on them, and we turned the ball and we stopped them when they got turnovers. And pretty much appreciate the way the defense played. I thought they flew around. We moved the ball offensively. We were efficient on third down. Unfortunately, just turned the football over. And had some penalties, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, Mike's just as frustrated as you are. He's got his defense playing out of their mind right now, and the offense just can't. I mean, you got to take care of the football. Got to take care of the football. And I've been a staunch Ryan Tannehill defender, and I think that he's getting a pretty raw deal overall, but he hasn't been good enough either. He just hadn't. There's no way to work around that. There's no way to justify that. None of them offensively. Offensive line. Well, actually, you know what? The offensive line in the running game, I'm going to give them a pass. I thought they played great today. I really did. And they wasted it because they turned the ball over 4 damn times. 13 turnovers in 3 games. That's ridiculous. That's completely unacceptable by any stretch of the imagination. In what world? Philan asked me, oh, God. I'm not mad at you, Philan. I'm mad at the question. It's not about you. It's about the question. Philan says, Buck, what's the latest on Golden Tate, wide receiver? You want Golden Tate? You're probably going to get him. Do you know why? Because your wide receiving core is falling apart at the seams. Do you think that's a good thing? Do you think that's good? This is the thing that blows my mind about the Golden Tate questions. And listen, I get it. You guys don't follow this every day. You're not at practice, and I'm not saying this to kind of talk down, even though my tone might come off as dismissive. I just legitimately want to work through the issues with that question and the unrealistic expectations that you're setting for a dude who's 32 years old and was on his couch 3 weeks ago. Golden Tate, if he's going to play, it means that something just catastrophic has happened to your wide receiving core. It means that somebody else is hurt or somebody else can't play today. Cody Hollister was a practice squad elevation for this game over Golden Tate. Cody Hollister, rookie Racey McMath, Des Fitzpatrick's on the COVID list, so he wasn't available. That has something to do with it. But even with all that, Golden Tate can't get a call up. Do you think that's a good thing? At what point do you kind of let go of this idea of Golden Tate 5, 6, 7 years ago playing in Super Bowls for the Seattle Seahawks? At what point do you get that image of Golden Tate out of your mind and realize this dude has been done for a while? And if he's out there on the field, if he's on your active roster on game day, 46 players, you got problems, bud. So at some point, I think I honestly think you're doing a disservice to Golden Tate because you guys are going to, and not everybody, all right? I'm probably not speaking to a majority of people. I feel like most people are reasonable about this at this point. I feel like if you don't see him after a while, there's probably a reason. What's the context clues, problem solving. If he's not out there, why isn't he out there? Instead of just being like, give me Golden Tate. The Golden Tate thing, I just think at a certain point, you have to understand that they are not putting him out there because they fear he will further jeopardize him. I don't think he's done anything wrong, but I think you're putting unrealistic expectations on Golden Tate because if he gets out there and he looks just as bad as the other guys, you're going to drag Golden Tate. And for what? Because you got hyped up about him when he hadn't been that kind of player in at least 3 seasons, right? I mean, doesn't that make sense? Or am I just crazy? Maybe I'm probably just an insane person at this point, babbling about, the 17th wide receiver that's dressed for the Titans this year because all of them keep getting damn hurt. Oh, goodness gracious. Did you hear anything on AJ last week on how he was coming along, hoping this is just a 3-week IR stint? I saw him tweet today that that he wants to get back out there. And I heard some stuff about they want him to be able to go, but since it's a short week, I don't think that that's a guarantee. Let me answer your question this way, Nick, and then we'll move on and we'll talk about some other things. And you'll hear from Kevin Byard because I thought Byard was great in his postgame today. To answer your question, I have heard that they are optimistic about AJ being ready this week. I have also heard concerns I have also heard concerns that because it is a short week, they may not feel comfortable getting him out there right away. So I know that sounds kind of like a non-answer, but like that's the best I can give you, right? That's literally what I've heard on the situation. And I know that a lot of people are kind of playing. I mean, it's just like David Long. Like I know a lot of people have asked me, why is David Long not playing and he's not on IR yet? Why haven't they just shut him down? Because it's literally a day-by-day thing with a lot of these guys. So I know that's not a definitive answer the way you probably want, Nick, but I know that they feel pretty good about where he's at physically. I think their concern is just, do we toss him out there before he's ready just because just because they've satisfied the 3 games. Lamar says, tell AJ to man the F up and play. Jesus, you have other wide receivers injured playing. Lamar, it's injured reserve. It's not like this was a small thing. I don't know what happened to his chest, okay? All I know is that he popped up on the injury report with a chest issue. And I imagine a chest issue for somebody who does a lot of pumping, who gets cracked across the middle, who is having, and especially with how much of his game relies upon strength. Lamar, if you put AJ out there and he's not ready to go and you get him more hurt, you've not just cost yourself the opportunity for him to contribute this season, you've jeopardized the rest of his career. You have no idea what's going on with his chest. So man the F up. Just that's that kind of thinking to me. That kind of thinking to me is just like growl, grunt, drool, football, hand in the dirt. Man, it's so much. There's so many more layers to that man the F up. Come on, Lamar. You're smarter than that. All right, let's move on. And before they turn all of the lights out on me, because I think I'm the last one. No, Teron's still there. TD, it's me and TD, the last 2 in the press box. I want to ask you a question. Who shoulders the most blame for the Titans' meltdown in the last 4 games? Let me know in the comment section on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, and on Twitch. We're going to talk about it together. Who shoulders the most blame for the Titans' late season meltdown? Give me your answer. We'll talk about it together. We'll have a reasonable, intelligent, nuanced conversation, I'm certain. While you guys give me your response, I'll tell you about who's the best in the business, who's more than reasonable, who will find you a reasonable deal on your dream address without the stress, or even more, help you sell for more, going above and beyond reasonable to make sure that you get in on this Nashville seller market. That is, of course, the official real estate agent of the Tennessee Titans. That is Gary Ashton and the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage at GaryAshton.com. The Ashton team makes sure that you have the best information at your disposal. The Ashton team wants to ensure that you are in the best position to succeed. When you trust Gary Ashton and the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage, you are putting your future in their hands. They understand that. They are going to work their butts off for you to make sure that you are as informed as humanly possible with the best intel in Middle Tennessee real estate. The Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage at GaryAshton.com. And by the way, home games for the next 2 games. So before Thursday Night Football, I'll be at the Gary Ashton tailgate right in front of the south end zone at Nissan Stadium. I will also be at the Gary Ashton tailgate before they play the Dolphins. I think that's New Year's Eve weekend. I think that's the 2nd. But in the meantime, GaryAshton.com. So who shoulders the most blame for the Titans' implosion in the last 4 games, right? 1 win in there, but 3 losses. And I understand that there's been a bye week in between, but there's a lot of different problems right now. And I think there's a lot of places that you could place the blame. Eddie Ladd says, was this your first time watching a game in Pittsburgh? But yes, it was, Eddie. And I had a great, the football sucked, the football on both sides. It was terrible. It was terrible football. Ben Roethlisberger, so bad at this point in his career. And that offensive line might be worse. I feel for Ben at this point, at this stage in his life, because he passed Phillip Rivers in this game for the 5th most passing yards all time in NFL history. And it was on a 3-yard completion that was 3 yards short of the first down on fourth and 12 or whatever it was. I'm sure I just botched the math in the middle of that. I apologize. I shouldn't try to do math on air. But regardless, Ben looks like a shell of himself at this point. And so I had a great time. Pittsburgh is a fantastic city. and a beautiful stadium. And the fans are nuts. They played it's the first time I've witnessed Renegade live. Whole stadium went crazy. And you know why they went crazy? Because there was a lot of stuff happening for the opponent and the Steelers fans. They thought they had that game lost in the first half. Turns out Titans wanted to choke it away. Didn't want to choke it away, but you know what I mean. So who do you place the blame on the most? Chris Frazier says everybody who fumbled the ball. There were a couple of them. Or there have been several of them in the last couple of weeks. Brian Malone says players for fumbles, Tannehill for interceptions. So I thought this was a really good tweet put out by our buddy Mike Miracles, formerly the retired, not really retired, sports commentator, we'll call Mike, at Broadway Sports. At Mike Miracles is where you can follow him. So Mike put out like a blame list, right? Or a blame distribution list. He says, and this was 3 hours ago, responsibility for the Titans' 13 turnovers in the last 4 games in my eyes. So he goes through each turnover. Tannehill, Chester Rogers, 2, probably Dez. Tannehill, forcing, he puts in parentheses, forcing it in desperation mode. Hilliard, Foreman, great play by Pats, Blossingame, Ferkser, McMath, great play by Steelers. So there's 4 basically that he's attributing to Tannehill, and Tannehill or Ben Jones on that fumble or that botched snap that would end up being a fumble lost. So there's 4 total plays, maybe 3 if that was Ben Jones's fault. I don't think it was Ben Jones' fault. I think it's Tannehill's fault. So let's say 4 Tannehill's responsible for 4 of the turnovers in the last of the 13 in the last 4 games. Chester Rogers, you got 2 for Des Fitzpatrick, Hilliard, Foreman, Blossingame, Ferkser, McMath, and then 2 big plays by the Pats defense and the Steelers defense. So I think there's a lot of blame that can be distributed around, right? I think, and ultimately, what it comes back to is turnovers. Turnovers, no matter who it is committing the turnover, there are so many of them at this point that you can go through 13 of them and say, yeah, this is what happened on this play, and this is whose fault it is on that play, and this is what went wrong for the offense on this play that caused that turnover, and great play by the Steelers there, but also terrible route by Des Fitzpatrick, and blah, 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 right? Plenty of blame to go around, but the emphasis of it is on the turnovers. The emphasis, who shoulders the most blame? The answer is obviously the offense. The offense obviously shoulders the most blame, and I feel so damn bad for that defense because Kevin Byard got up in front of us today and he was talking about how well they played, and then I asked him about some of the penalties that allowed Ben Roethlisberger to lumber down to the end zone and sneak it in from the 1, that being their only touchdown. Titans defense played great today. And Kevin Byard, when I asked him about one of the penalties that I thought was questionable, you could tell that KB was a little fired up about it.
What'd you guys make of that DPI on Christian that set him up on 1st and goal from the 1?
I think the majority, I don't know if I get fond of it, but I think the majority of the calls in this game was complete BS. I think the pass interference on Buster, I think he was turning around playing the ball. He was just hand fighting. I think even the hit on Christian, I don't think it was a dirty play. I think he was trying to make a play on the ball and just lost the ball out. Unfortunately, the guy got hurt. And also the pass interference in the end zone. So the one drive, fueled by penalties, they got a touchdown. But the rest of the game, I really felt like the defense was flying around, playing with speed. So I told all the guys when it was QB kneeling, I'm really proud of the effort the defense played with today.
So that's Kevin Byard talking about the situation. And listen, there was bad calls on the Steelers too, right? I don't think the officiating was just going against the Titans, although the Titans did have a lot more. I thought that and he laid it out. The screen DPI I thought was trash. I thought that both penalties on Christian Fulton were questionable at best. Here's what I will say. I thought the Jeffrey Simmons roughing the passer play, I thought that was a good call. Now let me tell you this. All right, I think the rule is terrible. I think the rule is terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. But based on the letter of the law for roughing the passer, and Jeff Simmons walked us through how the refs explained it to him, the rule is bad. The call, based on the rule, was good. Even though I know that drives people insane. He was pushed, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Those are the rules, right? I know people can freak out about that. And honestly, you should have gotten a roughing the passer on Naquan Jones earlier in the game. So, it's not a makeup call, but there were moments when the refs missed some in the Titans' favor too. So let's not let's not get crazy about the idea that it was all against the Titans. There was just a lot. There going wrong. It was not a bad call because they pushed Simmons. It's the rule. Like, it's the rule based on what Jeff did to the quarterback, whether he was pushed into the quarterback or not. It's the rule. The ref made the right call, even if you hate the rule. I hate the rule. I think that's terrible as far as what it does to the flow of game and how it affects the final result. It's the right call. It's a crap rule. It's the right call. You can bitch at me about that if you want to. I'm sorry. It's done now. It doesn't matter anymore. But at this point, that is the situation. Let's see. William Jones. We want Watson. Are you talking about Deshaun Watson? William, in what world does that make your problems better? Do you know that Deshaun Watson played a full 16 game NFL regular season last year and won 4 games? Deshaun Watson's not helping your problems. And honestly, listen, innocent until proven guilty with all the things that he's working through, but I mean, there is 0% chance that they would do something like that. As long as he has this shit hovering over him, Watson is untouchable. Even Miami, who's down bad worse than you are, wouldn't touch it because all of the different situations. You want Watson? Watson won 4 games. What? I don't think he sucks, but he's not good. He's not good enough to help you. You think Deshaun Watson's going to do any better throwing to Nick? And listen, I like Nick Wexler-Kikina. I think Cody Hollister's a lovely guy. But, you think he's going to do much better behind that offensive line? That's Deshaun Watson's whole problem. He gets hit too much. Stop. You guys kill me. Until such time as Deshaun Watson is cleared from these allegations, if he is cleared from these allegations, he may settle, whatever. If he settles, there's some stuff in there as well. But if he is accused of that and it's still hovering over his head and you bring him into your organization, which would never happen, by the way. But think about introducing that guy at a press conference and Mike Vrabel or John Robinson or Amy Adams Strunk, a female owner in the NFL, with what Watson's accused of, you think that would be welcomed into this organization right now? You're nuts. And also, it doesn't help your football team. Let's stop. Let's just stop. Okay, let's wrap things up. What I know is that the defense is not to blame. That the offense is why the Titans are struggling. That is who shoulders the majority of the blame at this juncture. But let's wrap things up with this is a free site because there's one person left in the press box, and I'm pretty sure Tehran has left me, and I'm pretty sure that's just a Steelers employee cleaning up all of the mess that we left behind. So we're going to wrap it up with this is a free site. What's the weirdest result that you've seen in the NFL this season? Titans have been a part of a couple of them. Let me know in the comment section on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. What's the weirdest result in the NFL this year? This may be one of them because Ronnie Snead brings up something that I forgot to mention. Titans held the Pittsburgh Steelers to 168 net yards of total offense, not rushing yards, not passing yards, 168 total yards. Titans had 318, lost the game. They were better in terms of third down efficiency. Titans were 44.4%. Pittsburgh Steelers, 18.2% of the time they converted on their third downs. They outrushed them. They outgained them. They averaged 4.1 yards per play to Pittsburgh's 3.7. 201 net rushing yards for the Titans, 35 for Najee Harris and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The only place that they were worse than the Steelers on offense was in the red zone. Titans were 1 of 4, 25%. Steelers 1 of 3, 33%. So that's the only place. Time of possession, Titans had the ball for almost 40 minutes. Steelers for 20. They almost doubled them up in terms of time of possession. That's insane. And they lost that football game. What's the weirdest result that you saw in the NFL this season? Let me know on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. We'll talk about it together right after I remind you that if you are in need of satisfaction, guaranteed on all of your HVAC needs, you need to call Brymac Mechanical. BRYMAK, Brymac.com. Satisfaction guaranteed is what they promise you, whether it's commercial, whether it's residential. Brymac has you covered. The best in the business, 3 locations in Middle Tennessee and in Kentucky. BRYMAK, Brymac.com. So, what was the weirdest result in the NFL this season? Let me know in the comment section. Honestly, this one was weird because the Titans, if you look at anything on my sheet that the Steelers PR handed us after the game, everything. This is the Titans side of things. This is the Steelers side of things. Almost every number on the Titans side of things is bigger than in the Steelers side of things. Stupid. This is a weird game that I watched them lose. Kidding me? Beating ourselves in most games we have lost is the weirdest, says Two-Tone Malone. Titans look silly letting Reynolds go. Nah, I mean, Puka, he wanted out. They weren't going to keep him if he wanted out. Bills and Jags, says Zachary. Zach B. Malone. But Foster Tate with my answer. I didn't see the game yet. I haven't had a chance to watch the game. I'm going to watch a little bit of it when I get home on Game Pass. But I heard the Lions beat the Cardinals today. And I heard the Lions beat the Cardinals like soundly.
Phases across the board. The minute it felt like something may go the wrong way, we were able to tilt it back into our favor. And I was proud of those guys. Golly, man, we showed up. And next man up mentality, the next man up did a good job today, across the board. But as a team, I was proud of them.
That, of course, is Dan Campbell biting kneecaps and taking down the NFL's best team in Arizona. I think the Lions were at home, if I understood that correctly. But, yeah, Lions beat the holy hell out of the Cardinals. That's a crazy result. I don't think there will be a crazy result in football this year. Although it's a really weird sport, team behind me or team that played behind me on that field today will tell you how weird of a sport it is. Going to do it from Pittsburgh. I hope you guys, I know we're like an hour early. I apologize. I looked at the time on my laptop. I saw 8 p.m. I always forget that I'm in a different time zone when we do this. So I know that we were early on prime time tonight, but I hope you enjoyed it. Short week, radio show tomorrow. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the Titans. We're going to talk about how they try and survive against the San Francisco 49ers. And also we're going to talk about all that shit that went down in Nashville on Saturday. I took off to come to Pittsburgh and landed in Pittsburgh to find out that Memphis and Tennessee had their game canceled, had that game at Bridgestone Arena canceled an hour before tip-off because Memphis sounds like they were being hugely irresponsible. Regardless, I love all you guys. Ready for another exciting primetime week together. Going to be a short one because obviously we won't do primetime after the Thursday night game, but we'll have a great time. We'll have a great week. We'll do it on the radio show tomorrow, 10 a.m. I'm going to fly back to Pittsburgh or fly back from Pittsburgh. Got a 6 a.m. Eastern flight, so 5 a.m. Central Time, and I'll be back in Nashville. Time to do 3 hours of radio and do this again